Hi boys and girls, today I want to talk to you about how to mix colors that look like your hair, okay? And last week we used the primary colors plus white to create our skin tones. Today we're going to use the same colors to create our hair, okay? And so I have cut out some pictures I found in magazines, and I'm going to show you how to make some of these different hair colors, okay? We're going to start with one of the lighter ones, and you can see she has very, very light, but she also has very, very dark in there in the shadows. So if I was mixing her hair color, I would start with some white, right? That's where we usually start, and then put a little bit of blue. Remember to not stir it into your color, just dab in there and get a little bit of red. It's definitely a lot more blue than red. I'm going to add a little more red. I'm really going for mixing up an orange, aren't I? When I mix the red and the yellow, I want an orange color. Okay, so already I've got kind of a brown. This is definitely a lighter brown than her hair, so I'm going to move it over here by her hair. This is lighter than the dark part of her hair. Let's see if you can see it next to her hair. And it's almost the color of the light part of her hair, but it would definitely need to add a little bit more white, right? If I do this, I've almost got that light color of her hair. See how that almost blends in with her hair? So I could make this color for part of her hair, right? There we go. And then I would want a darker brown than that. Now how do I get that darker? Well, you need more blue, more red, more yellow. I'm going to get myself a darker shade. And that's actually almost the color. It's a little bit lighter still. So if it's still too light, you need more of your primary colors. And sometimes you get too much of one or the other and it looks green or gray, and then you just need to add a little bit of the other one. I think I need a little bit more red there. Okay, so there I've got kind of, this is actually, to me, this looks like the value of the underneath shadows of her hair. Now when I look at her hair, and I look at what I've painted here, I'm going to show you. I feel like mine could use a little bit of white streaked over the top, because hers is a little bit lighter than what I have here. She's got some dark streaks in here too. Maybe if I put the dark streaks in first, let's do the dark first, and then I'll do the light over top of it. Now my brush has a lot of that dark. I'm going to get some of that off before I go in the light, and then I'm just going to try to streak the light right over top. If your light keeps getting too dark, just dip in the white and actually paint. You can paint right on your paper like this. Okay, do you see how I'm getting pretty close to her hair color there? You could add a little bit. I like this. When somebody needs highlights, I like to take the yellow and some white and make a really pale, not yellowy. You don't want it to be too yellowy. You want mostly white, but I had a dirty brush, which is actually good. Now that's looking a little bit green to me though. So I'm going to add a little bit more white. If it's looking green, what color do you need? Oops, said red, because green means you have way too much what in it. If you have blue and yellow together, they make green. So if yours looks green, you probably got too much of those. Now it looks like I got right back to my original color, which is not where I want to be. So instead of trying to dump lots and lots of white in there, I'm just going to take some white over here by itself, and I know my brush already has that color. And this will give me an even lighter shade. I guess I should lighter tint. Now my brush is so thick, I'm just having a really hard time brushing this on here and it looking the way I want it to look. So for mixing, this is probably a good brush for mixing, but is this a good brush for painting? Not really. So what I would do, let me pause this for a second. So I just went and got these two brushes. Mrs. Walker has an assortment of brushes, so if you're having trouble doing or painting a skinny enough line, go find a skinnier brush. Okay, so these would both work for what I'm doing. I can paint in really thin lines with these, okay, and that's probably what you're going to want to do. Even my dark, I could go back and streak the dark in there because I've got a skinnier brush. So for mixing, if you're needing quite a bit of a color, you might want to use a bigger brush for mixing, but when you go to paint it in, you may want to get a skinnier brush. All right, so there's how to make what I would say is one of the lighter. She has light hair on top, right? And I might even streak a few white highlights in there because her hair is really light. but she has much darker hair underneath, okay? So let's try another one. We've done the very lightest one. Let's try this one, okay? So you can see two different hair colors. This one is a little bit lighter, but mostly because the light is shining. Actually, he's got a light shining on the top of his too. So to get that color, I'm just going to make this even darker, right? Now, obviously, I need more of this, more of this, more of this. Stir, stir, stir. That looks purple to me. So let's see. Purple means I have a lot of these. Maybe I need a little more yellow. Okay. Still doesn't look dark enough, so I'm going to go back in. I'm going to keep adding my three colors until I get closer. Now that looks green to me. Not bright. If it looks green, I have too much of these two. I need a little bit more red. All right. Ooh, that's starting to look closer. Getting there. I think it's just still, I think I need one that a little bit darker even than that. There is some of this color in that hair. Oops, that's looking green again. Okay, I'm getting there. How close would you say I am? Okay, I would say that's pretty close. There looks like there's a really light value, a medium value, and an even darker value. If you absolutely cannot get it dark enough, Mrs. Walker does have some dark brown. I have some black. And I also have some reddish brown that I will let you mix in, but I do want you to try to mix your colors on your own, okay? So if I can't get that dark enough, I would probably start with taking a touch of the dark brown and see if I can get it closer. Ooh, that's pretty close. So if I was to paint hair on this one, and I want it to be kind of curly, so I'm trying to do little curly lines with my brush. I'm not doing a very good job. I probably need to switch back to that little brush again, right? But I'm doing curly lines so that it'll look more curly. Okay, kind of looks curly. And I still don't feel like it's quite dark enough because down here there's some really deep shadows in there. So for that area, now that I've got that on there, I'm going to mix an even darker one. I'm just going to mix part of it because I don't want it all to be this color in case I need more of that. And I'm going to put that shadow kind of down in here. So you want to have different values to your hair. Even if you have dark hair, you've got different values in your hair, especially where the light's hitting it. Now I notice where the light's hitting it, I'm going to take some of this color and just put a little bit. Oops, nope, that wasn't enough. I'm going to actually have to mix some white in and do my own. That was kind of dry. That's what happened. Maybe a little bit of this. So just kind of play around. That still looks too dark to me. So I'm going to lighten it up even more for that highlight on the very tippity top where the light is shining. And that's starting to look closer. Okay, so I want you to get as close as you can to your hair color. This gal, she's got kind of reddish hair, so she's going to need more of the red and yellow, right? Because that's an orange color. She's got a bit of an orange tint to hers. So if I was going to change this into her hair color, I would take more yellow, more red, yellow, red, and get it more of a reddish color. See how that's more her color when I put that in there? Kind of a red. And she's even got really light highlights. So I would probably use that for some of her hair. But I would be mixing up some lighter colors for the highlights in her hair. Okay, so because to me this is like the base of her hair is probably more like that. She's even got some of this red in it. I might even just take a little bit of this brown. Ooh, wow, yeah, that really looks reddish. All right, and then I would take some white and mix up a highlight color. All right. If it gets too light, if your highlight color is too light, I feel like that one needs more of these. You can always add a little bit of your original color back in there. And see, this is so big of a brush for the highlights. I'm just going to switch brushes here again. So to streak in your highlights, you want to have a skinny brush probably to get those highlights in there. Okay, so there's my idea of what hers would look like. Might even have a little more yellow to it than that. I don't know. I'd probably keep playing around with it. Mrs. Walker could play around with this forever and never be completely satisfied. Okay, so we've got the reddish, we've got the very, very blonde. We've got the nice dark hair. This one, dark hair as well, but it's more of straight lines. So when you paint it, if you're making that color, actually I think hers is even darker. Yeah, she doesn't have as much highlight on her hair. See how the sun isn't shining on it really, and the camera's shining on her face this way, but it really doesn't lighten her hair. So she would be even darker than this. I would probably take some of this. Hers is almost black, really. And paint it in, and she's got her hair up, so it would just be kind of straight lines, kind of back in a bun. If you wanted to show, if you have your hair up and you wanted to show that it's in a bun, you could always just draw that or paint that bun on the top like so. I'm using my big fat chunky brush again and not getting very good control. So remember that a smaller brush might help with that. Okay. I'm feeling like that one lost its shape too somewhere along the line. All right. Lastly, another combination of kind of like this one, only it's much more the warm, kind of more yellowy than this one. So depending on your underlying tones, so look at that. I mixed up kind of almost a greenish color. If it's too green, what do I need? More red, maybe more red and more yellow, right? Maybe you need both. Okay, just keep kind of playing around until you get the color that you want. This is almost what I want, but not quite. Hers actually is really dark underneath. You see those really dark roots there? So she's got kind of this color in some places, and then she's got really blonde highlights in other places. So maybe I need to start a new color right over here. Yep, I'm getting there. Anyway, it's a process. It's a mixing process. You might need to mix 3 different colors or 4, maybe even more for some of your hair. You might have to have quite a few colors, okay? I still see a little bit of red in hers. So play around with it, get it the way you want it, and then paint it in. And if you need the skinny little brushes, use the skinny little brushes. Let's make that hair look beautiful, okay? I ran out of people to put hair on, but mix the color that you see in your hair in the mirror, okay? Because we're going to have our mirrors out if we have them. If we don't have mirrors, ask someone, like, mix a color and ask them, does that look like my hair? If you have long hair, you can actually take your hair and put it up there and go, does that look like my hair color? This actually looks kind of close to Mrs. Walker's hair color right here, okay? Or at least some of the values in my hair. I actually have a lot of different values in my hair, so this would be hard to say that it was one of them, right? All right, have fun. Good luck.